All right, so there's 4 steps for graphing, and the first one we're gonna graph using slope-intercept form. That form is basically when we do y equals mx plus b. Okay. So let's add some of these things to our notes, and we're gonna follow our steps to solve. Now, when we have it in this form, the key parts are the b. Okay, that is our y-intercept. That's the point where it crosses the y-axis, touches the y-axis. And then the other item that's important, and I'm always circle what's in front of x. Let me change my font here. I always circle the coefficient of x because that is the slope. So when we graph, we kind of, in slope-intercept form, we start from the back, which is the b, and then we move using the m. Okay, m is going to tell us how to move from that b. So if it's not in this slope-intercept form, which is what I wrote right here, then we have to solve for y. I will talk about that on the next side. The starting point is the b, the y-intercept. And if we run out of room, we have to do reverse order. Just a heads up on that. And then we're going to connect the points. All right. So I know they're not out there, so let me do that. You're going to need to use like a little ruler, always a straight edge to connect your points. You want at least, all you need is 2 points to draw the line. You kind of want to get about 3 to 4 to be a little bit more accurate when you're using a straight edge. So, looking at our first problem here, let me scroll up. The first thing I have, or I'm showing, or recording that we're going to do together is always identify the b first. Okay, so your starting point is the b. In our equation here, y equals negative 2x plus 3, what value is our b? 3. The value of the b is 3. So that means this is on the y-axis, that's the vertical line here. We're going to plot that point. We're going to go up to 3 and put a point there. Okay, so that's the first point. The second point is from the slope, or how we move is using the slope. So if I look here, my slope is a negative 2. Because our slope, and they wrote it over here, is rise over run, okay? I got to think of this always like a fraction. So that would be negative 2 over 1. If it's a whole number, put it over 1 to convert it into a fraction. So right here, because this is negative, this means I'm going down 2 and then to the right 4. So your pencil starts at the starting point, the y-intercept. You count down 2 and to the right 1. And because our slope is negative, our line should be decreasing. We're just going to repeat that. Down 2 to the right 1. And then put your pencil down to make your point. Down 2 to the right 1. Okay? All right, then you're going to take your straight edge, your ruler. Let me get mine. It's right here. And we're going to line the edge of our ruler with our points. And I'm just going to go like this. Just to line it up first. Okay, so line up your edge through your points, and then we're going to draw a line through those points. Like such. Okay. There should be rulers in the clear box. If not, just let me know. I have extras. Okay. All right. So let's try number 2 here. We should start right here. It says first do your b. What is the value of our b in the equation? Very good. Negative 1. So that means on our y-axis here, we have to go down to a negative 1. Put a point. Put your starting point. Okay. Now we're going to use our m to move and make more points. We're going to use our slope. What's the m in this equation? 4. Yeah. So how are we going to move? If m is 4, How do we move? Remember, think of it as rise over run. Right 4 is a fraction. What would that be?
4.
Yep, 4 over 1. So this means we're moving up 4, because 4 is positive, and to the right 1. To the right is positive. So count up 4, and then to the right 1, and plot the point. Now, notice I can't repeat that because now I'm off the graph, right? What I could do is go back to my starting point, and this is what they're talking about, go in reverse order. So if I have up 4 and to the right 1, if I do the reverse of that, that would be, so I'm going to put a little or, that would be down 4, oops, sorry. And then instead of to the right 1, I would do left 1. So you can start at the y-intercept, count down 4, and then to the left 1. And now we're still points on that line. So we're going to use our ruler to line up the points, the edge of the points. Sorry. Okay, I think that's right. And then we're going to draw our line through those points. All right. I know we've been writing the equation, so we're doing the same thing. Before, when we were given the graph, we were looking for these parts. Now we're using the parts to graph it. All right, so on number 3, what's the value of b here? 1. Okay, so that means we start on the y-axis, point at 1. Now, let's see if you can recognize the m to indicate how we're going to move. What's our m here? Yeah, remember that invisible 1 right here that we don't see? We don't use the 1, so our m is 1. So how am I moving if my slope is 1?
Just go up 1 and left 1. No, up 1.
Yeah, up, it's like 1 over 1. Yeah, so up 1 to the right 1. So count up 1 to the right 1. And just repeat that, up 1 to the right 1. And then put your points. Okay? Yeah, very good. And then we're just drawing a line through those points. So we just need to use the edge. Let me make my ruler a little bit smaller here. Use your edge of your ruler to line up your points. My ruler is off. And then okay. All right, so I want to talk about number 4 here. A couple things. Yep, that's right. Y equals negative x. All right. What would be the b in this equation?
0.
Yeah, it's like saying plus 0. There's no b here. So if I don't see an adding or subtracting to the variable x, then it's 0. So that means we're starting at the origin. Okay. And then what's our slope here? Yeah, negative 1 over 1. Yeah. So because it's negative 1 over 1, we're now going to move down 1 to the right 1. It has to be a negative slope, so it has to be decreasing. That point is a little off, sorry. And then we're drawing our line through those points. Okay. And I'm just going to use my little tool to make my line. There we go. Okay. My line's off. All right, so I'm not saying you have to write out b equals m equals. If you know it, you just have to show it on your graph. So like on, let's see, we could just apply it on number 5 and 6 here. So our b, that's our starting point, is what value? 4. So we should start on the y-axis at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. All right. And then what is the m? Yeah, this is our m, negative 4 over 3. So how am I going to move if my m is a negative 4 over 3? Very good. Okay, if it's negative 4 over 3, we're going to have to go down 4 and then to the right 3. Yes. Down 4 and then count to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. And then now you plot your point. And notice I can't repeat that because I'm running off. I'm going to come off the graph. And then I can't reverse it because I'm going to come off the graph there. But all I need to graph a line is 2 points. A line exists with 2 points. Okay, let me get this up. And then we're just going to use our straight edge to draw our line through those points. So remember, if you run out of room, you can reverse to get to where you're needing to be. Okay, reverse your order. So I wanted to keep this. I'm going to circle this one because let's talk about reversing order here. So on number 6, to start the graph, to graph this equation y equals negative 2/3 x minus 4, we start where? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 on the y-axis. Put your point at negative 4. All right, and what's the slope here? Because how are we going to move from this point? Yeah, the slope, good eye, right here. I'm just going to circle it. Our slope here is negative 2 over 3. So normally we would count down to, but you see how we're running out of room? Excuse me. So if we're going to count down to and to the right 3, and we reverse that order, that means we're going to now count up 2, and now what direction? Because we got to reverse the order. Yeah, to the left 3. Okay. So if you run out of room, you have to reverse the order to keep the slope. So count up 2 and now to the left 3, and now I can plot the point. And it's still negative 2/3. Okay. And just get your ruler, line it up on the 2 points, draw your line through the points. Okay. All right, so on this next side, okay, we're going to graph the equation y equals 4x, okay. This is similar to, what was it, number 4? Yep. Because we're going to start at 0. Yes, the b equals 0 here. Because we don't have plus or minus anything here, that means b is 0. All right, so our slope, what is our slope in this equation? Very good. Just put 4 over 1 there. So that means we're counting up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then to the right 1, and then plot our point there. Okay, I can't repeat in that direction because I come off the graph, but I could, come back to my starting point and do the opposite of going up and to the right. I could go down and then to the left 1. All right, use your straight edge, your ruler. Let me get mine. And we're going to line up the edge of our ruler. Sorry. My ruler is off. There we go. All right. I want you to try number 8. Okay. Let's check your understanding. If you've been doing these with me, understanding what's first, what's second, let's plot the points. And then we're going to need to definitely do 9 through 11. I'm going to add some steps for you because these equations are not in slope-intercept form. So we have to solve for the y in order to do. What you could do, the thing is on your IXL, even on the online STAR exam, you're gonna have to manipulate the points to create the line, but you could use your calculator to check to see if you have the same points or the same answer. So get your calculator in your hand. I'm gonna show you how we've done the graphing before, okay? We've looked at graphs and looked for zeros on the graph. That means looking for the x-intercepts, okay? So if you have points here that we know exist, what we could do is go to y equals, put the equation into the calculator. Let me get my calculator open. So we had y equals, you might have some in there right now, just hit clear, arrow down and clear them out. So I'm going to y1. Our equation that we just did was x minus 5. So the x member is next to the green alpha button to the right, and then minus 5. And then hit graph, and you can see and look at the graph and make sure your graph is hitting the same points, especially your x-intercept and your y-intercept, okay? Another way is, and I'll go back to it, remember we have y equals x minus 5, and then we hit graph, right? The other thing you could check your points with is if you do second graph, you can look at the table to see if those are your order pairs that are on the line, okay? Now, the one thing that the graphing calculator cannot do, which is why I'm stressing this, is that it only graphs in slope-intercept form. It will not graph in standard form, okay? Which is what happens on number 9 here. Number 9, this equation is what we call standard form. And let me show you what standard form looks like. Basically, it says ax plus by equals c. There is a shortcut for this form, but it's only if the coefficients of the terms are divisible by each other, okay? Or divisible by the constant. But the key is, standard form, basically what happens is the x term and the y term are on together on the left side of the equal sign, okay? So what we're going to do is, we're going to just draw a line down the equal sign, yes? Huh?
What is in the parentheses?
Number in front of y. That's what your coefficient is. Okay, so our first thing is to move x by doing inverse or opposite. Our x is 2x right here, so we have to do the opposite of that. So that means minus 2x minus 2x. Let's get the writing down of the step. Okay, we're going to draw a line underneath. And the x term is now gone. It's been moved to the other side. And we're going to rewrite our equation. Our equation is now 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. Instead of vertical 9 minus 2x up and down, we're going to write the x term first and then the constant. Constant always comes last whenever we're writing out equations, okay? All right, then step 2 says divide by coefficient of y. That's the number in front of the y. The number in front of the y here is 3. So each term is going to be divided by 3. Okay, so show the dividing by 3 to each term. Okay, by the x and by the 9. Now the 3 for the y cancels. That's gone. So we have y equals, and then we're just going to write this like a fraction.
2x.
Negative 2 over 3x. And then can 9 be divided by 3? Yeah, so that's just going to be plus 3. So now this is my equation. I'm going to graph, just like the ones we did before. We're going to start off with the y-intercept. Which value is our y-intercept? Yep, so on the y-axis, go up to 3, put a point there. That's your starting point. And then we're going to need to use our slope. Okay, our slope is negative 2/3 here. So that means we count down to the right 3. Okay. Or I can do the reverse order, which is up to the left 3. And now I'm going to draw a line through those points. I'm just going to use my line tool. So our line is going to go through those 3 points that we have here. Okay. So 10 is another example where the equation is not in standard form. Always move or start with your x's first. Okay. So to move this negative 3x, we have to do the inverse, which is the opposite. So what are we going to write?
You're gonna add 3x.
Yes.
And then you're gonna add it, and then that's gonna cancel it out because you added it to 15, and then 15, then it's gonna become 15 plus 3x. And then you're gonna divide. Well, you're gonna divide a negative 5y. I mean 5y divided by 5.
By the negative 5.
Yeah, the negative 5. And then you're going to divide negative 5 by 15 and 3x.
So when we rewrite it, make sure we put our x's first. Okay. So this is y equals negative 3 over 5x minus 3. Yes. So our y-intercept is the negative 3. That's our b. We're now going to move 3/5, a negative 3/5. That counts as going down 3. Could I actually go down, or I'm coming out of the room? So that we have to go in the opposite direction. So instead of doing down 3 to the right 5, yeah, we're going to do the opposite, which means we're now going to actually go up 3 to the left 5. Okay, so count up 3 to the left 5. And now we have our 2 points to create our line. I'm just going to use my line tool here. Okay. Make sure you draw your line through the point so we can see that it's continuous. And then I want us to get into some practicing. So let's just make sure we can solve for y. Your practice on your IXL, I don't think is going to ask you to solve for y today, but I definitely want to see how we're advancing in our score. So on 11, solving for y. What should we write first?
You subtract 2 minus 2x. I mean 2x minus 2x. Do it on the other side. And then you get, and that becomes 5 minus 2x.
Hold up, what's over here though?
Negative y.
Yeah, negative y, and then put your x term first. 5 minus 2x is the same thing as negative 2x plus 5. It's the same thing, but just we want in slope-intercept form, so the x has to come before the constant. All right. Now, do we remember what happens when we have this negative here? How to get rid of it? You divide everything by negative 1. Because a negative divided by negative turns into a positive. So y equals, what's going to happen to our x term? Yeah, positive 2x, okay? And then our constant here. Yeah, minus 5. Negative 5 will become a minus 5. All right, so let's graph. We're going to stop right here. So once you have this, I want you to get your laptop, and we're going to go to IXL, okay? So just check your graphs, and then we're going to practice this in IXL. We'll do that tomorrow, okay? We'll finish the right side tomorrow.